Welcome to Barbara's Bulletin, the podcast where we dive into the day's top stories and bring you the latest news and updates. We're starting off with a look at the current state of tax refunds in the United States. According to recent data, the average tax refund for 2026 is up 11% from last year, with the average check coming in at $3,462. However, this increase is still falling short of President Trump's expectations after his One Big Beautiful Bill was signed into law last year. The bill promised new tax breaks for Americans, but some critics argue that the benefits are not as widespread as initially thought. Comedian Stephen Colbert recently weighed in on the issue, pointing out that while the average individual tax refund may be higher, the average U.S. household could end up paying more for gasoline due to rising oil prices. Colbert joked that the difference between the increased tax refund and the potential increase in gas costs is only about $8, saying, "That'll get you 8 lotto tickets," which also happens to be Trump's healthcare plan. While the comment was made in jest, it highlights the concerns many Americans have about the impact of the new tax law on their finances. On the other hand, some experts argue that the tax cuts will ultimately benefit the economy and lead to increased growth and job creation. The director of the National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett, recently suggested that if oil prices were to decrease, inflation could potentially drop to near zero. As we continue to navigate the complexities of the new tax law, one thing is clear: the impact on American households will be closely watched in the coming months. We'll be keeping a close eye on this story and bringing you updates as more information becomes available. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're now moving into our middle segment, where we take a closer look at stories making headlines around the world. Today, we're focusing on a remarkable tale of determination and activism from Ireland. At the age of 91, film producer and activist Lélia Doolan has embarked on an extraordinary journey to highlight her concerns about the use of Shannon Airport by the U.S. military. Over the course of 2 weeks, Ms. Doolan walked approximately 220 kilometers from Shannon Airport to Leinster House in Dublin, where she was greeted by supporters waving Palestinian flags and posters. Ms. Doolan's protest is centered around her belief that Ireland should not allow its airports to be used for military purposes, particularly in light of the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. She argues that such actions undermine Ireland's neutrality and its commitment to peace. As she arrived at Leinster House, Ms. Doolan was met with applause and praise from opposition politicians, including Labour Party leader Ivana Bacik, who urged the government to stop allowing U.S. military planes to use Shannon Airport. However, Taoiseach Michel Martin expressed his respect for Ms. Doolan, while also stating that Shannon Airport has no role in the Middle East conflict. It's worth noting that this is not Ms. Doolan's first act of activism. In 2024, she celebrated her 90th birthday by doing a parachute jump to raise money for Doctors Without Borders Médecins Sans Frontières. Her dedication to her cause and her willingness to take bold action have inspired many. As we consider this story, it's essential to recognize the complexities of international relations and the delicate balance between maintaining good diplomatic ties with other nations while also upholding one's own values and principles. The use of Shannon Airport by the U.S. military is a contentious issue, with valid arguments on both sides. Ms. Doolan's walk has sparked an important conversation about Ireland's role in global affairs and the importance of standing up for what one believes in, regardless of age or circumstance. Her message of peace, kindness, and decency resonates deeply, reminding us that even the simplest actions can have a profound impact when driven by conviction and determination. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. As we wrap up today's show, let's take a closer look at the ongoing tensions between Iran and the U.S. Reports have been emerging that Pakistani mediation has helped narrow down differences between the two nations, but significant splits remain, particularly when it comes to Tehran's nuclear ambitions. According to a senior Iranian official, Pakistan's army chief, Field Marshal Asim Munir, visited Tehran in an effort to prevent a renewal of the conflict, and while some progress has been made, fundamental disagreements still exist. The official stated that the trip was effective in reducing differences in some areas, but that more hopes have been created for extending the ceasefire and holding a second round of talks. The U.S. and Iran failed to agree on an end to the war last weekend, which was launched by U.S. President Donald Trump alongside Israel with a surprise attack on February 28. The conflict has triggered Iranian fire at Gulf states and ignited a parallel conflict in Lebanon. In related news, a blaze erupted at Geelong oil refinery in Australia, and firefighters responded to the significant fire. Meanwhile, the White House denied reports of a 2-week extension of the ceasefire, saying it's not true at this moment. However, the door remains open for continued U.S.-Iran talks. As the situation continues to unfold, it's essential to stay informed and up to date on the latest developments. We'll be keeping a close eye on this story and bringing you updates as more information becomes available. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged.